Alright, welcome guys to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at ways to identify angle pairs when parallel lines are cut by a transversal. Okay, remember we talked about today the parallel lines are two lines that continue in the same direction and never touch or never cross. Well, when we cut a line across that, which is what we call the transversal, that transversal creates 8 different angles. Well, those angles have different names, and we're going to kind of name about 5 of those, okay? So we're going to look at real quick the 5 types that we're going to discuss. The first one being alternate exterior angles, the second one being alternate interior angles, corresponding angles, vertical angles, and supplementary angles. Okay, so each one of these we're going to be able to give a little definition to, and hopefully I'll give you a few ways to hopefully help you identify which one it is. And remember we talked about today, sometimes it's easier to tell me what it's not than what it is, and you can eliminate those answers find your answer by eliminating the ones that it cannot be. Okay, so first off, let's look about what are the definition for alternate exterior angles. Well, exterior, if you'll think about exterior, the exterior of your house is outside. So alternate exterior angles are angles on the outside of the parallel lines and on the opposite side of the transversal when the parallel lines are intersected by that transversal. Okay, so alternate, kind of think about alternate going with the word opposite, exterior is outside. So opposite, outside. These angles are congruent. Remember we talked about the definition of congruent means they'll have the same measurement. So whatever those measurement is for one, it will be the same for the other. Okay, we also call these outside matches. So if one of them, so we're looking at one acute, find the acute on the other side. We'll talk about that more in just a minute. Or okay, all right. The other type of angle we're going to talk about are alternate interior angles. Well, alternate interior means on the inside, and if you'll think about inside, what I'm talking about is the area between the parallel lines. Okay, and again, alternate means on the opposite side of the transversal. So alternate interior angles are angles that are between the parallel lines and on opposite sides of the transversal when those parallel lines are cut by that transversal. Just like alternate interior angles are congruent, which means they will have the same measurement. We call these inside matches. Kind of give you a little hint, inside matches. So you're looking for the angles that match on the inside but are on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay? All right. What are corresponding? Well, this is the one that seems to be giving y'all a little bit of trouble. Remember, corresponding angles are angles that are at the same position at different intersections when parallel lines are cut by a transversal. So in other words, you've got the top intersection, the bottom intersection. Find the ones that kind of go together as far as they are in the same position. Here's a little quick hint right here. Maybe this will help some of you that were having a little bit of trouble. Corresponding angles will be on the same side of the transversal. They'll be matching angles on the same side. They are also congruent. So we'll look right here, matching corners on the same side. So there's another little hint right here. Okay, matching corners on the same side of the transversal. All right, so that's corresponding. Vertical. These are angles that are diagonal. So this is the one that's a little bit different. They are also going to be congruent, but this time we're looking at angles, instead of being at two different intersections, this is the one that's at the same intersection. So it's angles that are diagonal to each other at the same intersection. So you won't have to worry about looking at one on top, one on bottom. Okay? Vertical angles are congruent again. These are diagonal matches at the same intersection. So maybe that'll help you out a little bit, keeping it at the same intersection. Okay? All right? So let's go with this one more. I think we got one more. Supplementary. This is the one that kind of proves to be a little different. There are different names that go with supplementary angles. Sometimes you'll hear the word consecutive angles. You'll hear sometimes linear pairs, adjacent angles. Well, we're going to make it a little easier for you here. All I want you to remember, supplementary angles are two angles that, when added together, will equal 180 degrees. And here's our quick hint. Always look for that acute angle and obtuse angle. If one of them is acute, one of them is obtuse, automatically you're looking at something that is supplementary. Okay, so let's kind of look at how it works. So here's our parallel lines and our transversal. So kind of like we did in class today, we're going to kind of give you a little highlight. I'm going to highlight this one. Here's my transversal. That is the line that cuts across. All right, and then here are my two parallel lines. There's one, and there's the other. Okay, so parallel lines, here they are. Let's label those. So these two are my parallel lines. So those are my three types of my three lines here. All right, so we have created now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different angles. Well, we can take those 8 angles and we can give names to them, and we can look at how they work. Okay, so let's kind of look at if I want to do, let me erase this. Let's you have parallel lines on here. So when we talked about interior, what I want to do real quick is I'm going to take my marker, and we're going to do this real quick, kind of like we did today. Okay, we're going to highlight this area on the inside. This kind of gives you the area that you're looking for. So these are my inside measurements. All right, so we're inside here. I guess I could have made that a little bit bigger and it would have been a little bit faster, wouldn't it? All right, so this is my interior. This is my inside of the house. And then I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to go a little bit bigger. This is the outside. These are the areas outside. So if you'll think about this now that we've got everything kind of isolated now, well, I've got 8 angles, but I've isolated 4. 4 on the inside, 4 on the outside. 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are on the inside. 1, 2, 7, and 8 is on the outside. Okay, one thing I like to do, if you remember this, we talked about it today too also, I like to give a couple of shapes. I want to look at angle 1. I'm going to look at angle 1. Angle 1 is on the acute angle, so I'm going to put a triangle around that acute angle. Well, which other ones up here are acute is going to be 4, 5, and 8. Well, now I can change up a little bit, and I can say, all right, now if that's acute, there's obtuse. So the ones that are left are obtuse. So now it gives you the visual. Some people are visual learners. I'm kind of one myself, so I like to see colors and I like to see shapes. So now I can start kind of identifying what I'm looking for. I can see right now 2 and 3 are congruent. 3 and 6 are congruent. 6 and 7 are congruent. 2 and 6, 3 and 7, or even 2 and 7. Okay? So all of those, and then we got to do is just start putting the angles with them, putting the names with them. Okay? 1 and 4 are congruent. 4 and 5, 5 and 8, and even 8 and 1. Okay? So all of these, the same shapes, means they're going to be congruent. So let's kind of talk about what they are. So if I want to start out real quick, let's find out what is the angle types for angle 1 and angle 2. Well, if you go back to our definition, if I look at angle 1 and angle 2, I'm looking for the shapes being different. Well, I have an acute angle here. This angle is acute. This angle is obtuse. Okay, so angle 1 and 2 are supplementary angles. They are supplementary angles, which means they would have equally 180 degrees. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. All right. What if I wanted to go 1 and 4? Well, 1 and 4, they are the same angle, so I know they're going to be congruent. They are the same shape, excuse me. Now, these angles are at the same intersection. So let's kind of walk through what we talked about before. What can it not be? And that will help me predict what it is. Well, 1 and 4 are at the same intersection. So that eliminates, and they're on the opposite sides of the transversal, right? So one's on the left side and one's on the right side. So that eliminates alternate anything. I'm sorry. Excuse me, that does not alternate. That eliminates corresponding because corresponding is on the same side. Okay, so could it be alternate interior? Well, the 4 is on the inside, but the 1 is on the outside, so that eliminates alternate interior. Could it be alternate exterior? Because 1 is on the outside, but 4 is on the inside, so it can't be alternate exterior. So we're down to supplementary or vertical. Well, those two both can be at the same intersection, but if you'll look, we have an acute angle and an acute angle. Well, remember, supplementary has to be one of each. So we've really eliminated everything down to the angles 1 and 4 being vertical. Okay? If I wanted to do 1 and 3, 1 and 3 would be the same as 1 and 2 because you have an acute angle and an obtuse. Okay, so those angles are supplementary. What about 1 and then if you look at 1 and 8, all right, 1 and 8, what can it not be? Well, 1 and 8 can't be vertical because they're at two different intersections. It can't be corresponding because they're on different intersections. Different sides of the transversal. It cannot be alternate interior anything because both angles are on the outside. So we're left with supplementary and we're left with alternate exterior. Well, if you look at the angle themselves, acute and acute, or you have two triangles, those two triangles tell me that it can't be supplementary, so it has to be alternate. We're going to abbreviate. I don't mind you abbreviating AEA, alternate exterior angles. All right. So we've got one more. Let's see what we come up with. What about 1 and 5? Angle 1 and angle 5. All right. So right off the bat, I look and see. I know they have to be congruent. So that tells me it can't be supplementary. Even that, because one is acute, the other one's acute. So it can't be supplementary. So I'm down to alternate exterior, alternate interior, corresponding or vertical. Well, two different intersections, can't be vertical. Same side. If you look, they're on the left side of the transversal. So that can't be alternate anything. So really, you're down now to corresponding. And sorry, I'm running out of room. Okay. So you see how that works? If you just play the game as far as what can it not be, you can talk yourself into what it is. All right. So if I look up here, let's just say I want to find out two angles that are alternate exterior angles. Well, we've already named one. 1 and 8. So we're looking for those outside matches. Well, the outsides are 1, 2, 7, and 8. What is my outside matches? Well, I did 1 and 8. We'll look right here. Here's 7, obtuse. 2 is obtuse. So alternate exteriors are 1 and 8 and 2 and 7. And I know I went kind of backwards on this, but I want to kind of get you an idea of what we're looking for. So what are my alternate interior angles? AIA. Well, the angles on the inside are 3, 4, 5, and 6. Well, remember, we're talking about inside matches. Well, obtuse, obtuse. So 3 and 6, they're on the opposite side of the transversal. So if I pick angle 3, the two angles on the other side are 4 and 6. Well, which one is the match? 3 matches 6. So 3 and 6, that leaves 4 and 5. Okay, see how it works? Think about the transversal. Let that transversal be your key. All right, so then if I want to go up, let's go to vertical. Remember, with vertical, we're going to break it down into one intersection. This bottom intersection and this top intersection. All right. So verticals are diagonal matches at the same intersection. Well, if I look up here, what's diagonal to it is 4. But it's acute and acute. So I have 1 and 4 at the upper intersection. And I have 2 and 3 at the upper intersection. Then on the bottom intersection, same thing, acute and acute. I'm just finding the angles that match. 5 and 8 and 6 and 7. Okay, those are my vertical angles. What about corresponding? And I know, like I said, I know I did it kind of backwards looking, but I wanted to show you how we walk through this and then come back down and talk about this. All right, remember, corresponding, matching corners on the same side of the transversal. Okay, matching corners on the same side of the transversal, same position, two different intersections. So if I look up here, here's angle 1. Angle 1 is above the parallel line, but to the left of the transversal. Well, if I look down here, there are two angles above this parallel line, but only one is to the left of the transversal. That's 1 and 5. All right. Angle 2 is above it, above the parallel line, but to the right of the transversal. So above the parallel line to the right of the transversal is 2 and 6. So you see, kind of get the gist. What I'm doing with the corresponding, just pretend in your eyes that if I take a pair of scissors and I cut this, and if I slide this whole intersection down here, if I move this whole intersection down here to where this point is on top of that point, all I'm looking for is what angle is laying on top of the other. Okay, so angle 3, below the parallel line to the left of the transversal. Angle 7, below the parallel line to the left of the transversal. Angle 4, below and to the right. Angle 8, below and to the right. Okay, so that's how it works. Now, this is the one that could take forever for us to do because there's so many up here, but we're going to do several of them. We'll just do a couple. What if I wanted to find some supplementary angles. Remember, supplementary angles have to equal 180 degrees. And remember the little hint we gave. Look for that one acute and the one obtuse. Okay? All right, so here we go. So if I look at angle 1, all I need to do is match up the different angles. So here's an acute. Let's find an obtuse. Well, you have 1 and 2. You have 1 and 3. 1 and 6. 1 and 7. Okay? So 1, 2, 1, 3. That's good. So we're looking at those. So anything that is 1 acute, 1 obtuse. Then I can jump over to 2. Well, 2 goes with 1. 2 and 1 are supplementary. 2 and 4 are supplementary. Okay? 2 and 6 are not supplementary. That's corresponding. Excuse me. 2 and 5. Excuse me. And then 2 and 8. I need an obtuse and an acute. Okay? So you can name a bunch of these, but the whole key is to find 1 acute and 1 obtuse. Okay, so you see how that works? It's just walking around the parallel line transversal picture and just talking yourself through. Tell me what it cannot be, and then you can tell me what it is. Okay, so let's put some numbers with this. All right, so if I want to go over here, remember, we're going to talk about some numbers. When you give me these numbers, remember, I'm going to ask you to tell me what the number is and tell me why. But what I'm saying why is, what is the angle pair? How do you know? All right, so something real simple. What if I was to start out with angle 1? So what if I want to find the angle 1 and I want to find angle 1 and 4? All right, we'll just start out with a simple. So if I know angle 1 is, say, 36 degrees. All right, what I'm looking for is what kind of angle pairs are angle 1 and 4, and that will let me know what this measurement is. Well, if I look right here, I'm at the same intersection. Okay, so and one's on the inside, one's on the outside, so it can't be alternate interior because one's inside, one's outside. Can't be alternate exterior because one's inside, outside. Can't be corresponding because they're on opposite sides. And it can't be supplementary because you have an acute and acute. But if you'll look, these are diagonal to each other at the same intersection. So these are vertical angles. So vertical angles are congruent. So if this is 36, angle 4 has to be 36. Okay, so you see how it works? Man, we'll just walk ourselves through it, talk ourselves through the problem. All right, let's clear this out. What if I want to know 4 and 6? Okay, 4 and 6. Well, immediately when I look up here, I notice that 4 is an acute angle. 6 is an obtuse. So before I even do any work, I know that that angle is supplementary, right? What if I want to say what is angle 6 is 128 degrees? What is the measure of angle 4? Okay, so all I need to do is, if I know supplementary has to be 180, I'm going to subtract what I know. Okay, and that should give me hopefully 52 degrees. Let me get my calculator just to be safe. 180 minus 128. 52 degrees. Okay, so that angle will be 52 degrees. All right, so identify your angle and then either subtract it or they're going to be the same measurement. All right, let's do a couple more before we stop. What about angle 5? If angle 5 is 81 degrees, what is the measurement of angle 1? So 1 and 5. Well, before I do anything, let's talk about what kind of angles are 1 and 5. Angle 1 is here, angle 5 is here. Same side of the transversal, so automatically I know it can be alternate anything. So AIA is out, AEA is out. Okay, two different intersections, so vertical is out. And both of them are acute, so supplementary is out. So that just leaves me with corresponding. And by definition, I remember corresponding angles are equal. So if 5 is 81, then 8 has to be 81. Okay? Walk it through, guys. I know I keep saying it over and over again, but walk yourself about what it cannot be, and you'll find out what it is. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take this measurement. We're going to end on this part here. Let's go ahead and finish out this whole chart. Okay? So if I know 81 is 5, I can go right here. I know that is 81 because angle 4 and angle 5 are both on the inside of the parallel lines. They're between these two parallel lines. One's on one side of the transversal, one's on the other. These are alternate interior angles, and alternate interior angles are congruent, so that's why I know that's 81. All right, so there's a couple ways to find this last one. Let's find this other one. So let's find the other acute measurement. Well, it's acute, so we know it's going to be 81 degrees because they're supplementary. I mean, corresponding. Excuse me. They are congruent. Okay, I can do it a couple ways. Well, I can know 1 and 8 are alternate exterior, 4 and 8 are corresponding, and 5 and 8 are vertical. So any way you want to name that, there's several different ways to name it. So I'm just going to say real quick, 4 and 8 are corresponding. Same spot at two different intersections. They correspond to each other. Okay, so if that's 81, that's got to be 81. Okay, so then we have that part done. So that are all my acute angles. So now let's find the rest of the measurements. Well, I know 1 and 2. One is acute, one is obtuse. So I know 1 and 2 are supplementary. So 1 and 2 are supplementary, which means they have to equal 180 degrees, right? Well, I know this one is 81 degrees. And again, I'm going to be lazy. Don't say that word, excuse me. I'm going to use my technology. Okay, if this angle is 180 degrees, and I know that's 81, then this angle is 99 degrees. So 81 and 99 is 180 degrees. Okay, all right, so now we can finish filling this out. Angle 2 and angle 3, same intersection, diagonal matches. If that's vertical angles, 2 and 3 are vertical, so that's 99. 3 and 6 are both between the parallel lines on opposite sides of the transversal. So if that's 99, that's 99 because they are congruent, right? And then the last one, you can do a multitude of ways. You can say 2 and 7 are alternate exterior. You can say 3 and 7 are corresponding. You can say 6 and 7 are vertical. 7 and 8 are supplementary, 5 and 7 are supplementary. So there's a bunch of ways to do this. But just pick one. So I'm just going to say real quick, 6 and 7 are vertical angles, same intersection. Okay, same intersection. You have an obtuse and an obtuse. So if that's 99, that's going to be 99 because vertical angles are congruent. Okay? And again, I want to just kind of caution you, just take your time. Just encourage you to take your time, walk yourself through these, and I promise you, you will come up with the right answer. When you learn this to be able to tell me what it's not, I promise you, you'll be able to tell me what it is. Okay? All right. Look over your notes again and have a great day. So #good day. All right? See everybody tomorrow.